Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Just thought maybe a couple of thoughts. We heard the news on the weekend. I wrote a story and report about Lukhanyo Am, who's out for the rest of the year. Well, most probably for the rest of the year. Of course, we're not doctors, but the diagnosis that we've heard was that his meniscus on his knee needed to be cleaned. He went in for operation last week, and they say 8 to 12 weeks. And 8 to 12 weeks, we're sitting in September. That puts us in beginning of December. It means he misses out on the November tour, probably on the December action in the URC and European Cup as well, and probably is only likely to come back in January. That's quite a setback, not only for the Springboks but for the Sharks as well. Lukhanyo has been the form player of the season for the Springboks. He's really, he's clever, he's smart, he's on attack, he's exceptional attacker. So that's a huge loss for the Springboks and for the Sharks. Also, if you look at that, the other thing to the Andre Pollard's injury, we haven't heard the final diagnosis. The reports I've seen out of England say 6 weeks at least where he'll be on the sideline. So that also puts him in doubt for the November tour as well, which they're already a bit thin at fly off. So Damien Willemse did well there on the weekend, but he's got to work a bit on his goal kicking. I think that's still something that lets him down a bit. Elton Yankee should return to fitness, but you got to start wondering when they're going to look at a third option. Probably for the November tour, we'll be looking at an option of Johan Goosen returning to the field. He'll probably get some action in URC in the opening rounds, and hopefully if he stays fit, then he can go on the end of year tour with the Boks. They'll give them some more options, but they might feel they need one more option. It'll be interesting to see what they do there, if they continue with Frans Steyn as sort of the backup there, or if they look for another option. I'm not quite sure. They want to bring in anybody else, but I think they'll probably look within the squad first. And then the other injury was Bongi Mbonambi, which the Sharks guys tell me that he's still in a brace. That was week 3 of was supposed to be a 4-week injury, so he's probably going to miss the Argentina games. He should be already for the November tour, and that'll give them a boost at hooker, because hooker is a position they're really going to be looking at. Although I'll probably see Johan Krobler joining that squad in that tour as well at some point. In one of those squads, he's been doing some conditioning, so I think he'll probably be in that squad, either the SAA squad or the SA Select squad, whatever they're going to call it, for that tour. So I could see him being in that squad as well. So those are the injuries at the moment that they're sitting with, and they've got to sort out. I just think if we look at, as I said, at 10, you're probably looking at Damien Willemse continuing there with Elton Yankees, those two running with Frans Steyn, and Willie Leroux probably being the backups off the bench for now, and then probably in November as well if Andre doesn't make it. At hooker, I think with Bongi coming back in these last games against, you'll probably see them alternating between Joseph Dweba and Dion Fourie as the backup to Malcolm Mox. I wouldn't be surprised if Malcolm starts after the performance of the pack this weekend. But they are looking to broaden their squad a little bit. But the real question, and the big question for us all at the moment, is what happens, who's going to replace Lukhanyo Am? That's a position we've almost been lulled into a sense of security with Lukhanyo being our de facto 13. Now Jesse Krill's done an exceptional job at 13 as well. I know he doesn't have, not everybody's a fan of Jesse Krill, but I think a lot of people don't understand that 13 is probably the toughest position on a rugby field to cover, because you almost have to organise the defence. It's a channel that you have to defend very well. It's the toughest channel on the field to defend as well. I've seen online that Jesse gets quite a bit of criticism as well. I don't think it's always warranted. I think he's the type of guy that really, doesn't get all the plaudits that he deserves. He's an exceptional defender. He's good on attack as well. Maybe he hasn't had the chances as well this last while, and he was maybe a bit quiet on Saturday, but it wasn't because he wasn't doing work. On defence, he was exceptionally organised, and I think that's probably the Boks go-to at the moment in that position. I know people are talking about Kane Moody, he played it at school, but it's a big difference coming into 13 and that defending channel when you're 19 years old. I would leave Kanan on the wing. I think later on in his career, we'll probably see him move to 13 as well. You got to look at who else is around. They don't really have too many. Andre Esterhuizen's at 12, Damien's at 12. You could put Damien Willemse there, I suppose, but that also doesn't really help you. You probably want to give Damien the freedom to play somewhere else, and he's better in a 10 or 12 position or fullback. I don't really see him as a 13. I don't think the Boks see him as a 13 either. So where does that leave you? So if you have to look outside the squad, I would probably say the first guy I would probably look at is a guy, Cornel Hendricks, has been exceptional at provincial level. Whether he can be selected, I know there's still a few legal issues with his heart condition. The Boks have been told that until they get certain clearances, they can't select him, and I'm not quite sure what's happened there yet. I mean, that was the last we heard. I don't think he is on their radar at the moment because of those issues. It's a sad thing because he has been really one of the form guys in the midfield in the last sort of year or so. You've got a guy like Ron Janssen from Rensburg who can play 13 as well. You've got Jan Saffontein who could probably come in and play. Who's more 12 though, could play 13. And locally, I think the Stormers showed quite well how you use Ruan Nel, and I think he'd probably be my next choice as a 13 as well, if you are going to bring somebody into the larger squad. But it is a position we don't have a lot of depth in at the moment, and it is a position I think we're going to miss the Lukhanyo Am. I think we've almost, since 2019, got so used to the Lukhanyo Am being such a rock in the midfield that, it's always strange. We don't actually think who the next guy is, and there's not too many candidates out there. That said, that's the problem they have to sort out for the end of year tour. I think they'll still be okay for this Argentina test. Jesse will probably cover there for those games. But I think for the November tour, you might see them putting the net a bit wider. They might even look at one or two younger guys, maybe a guy like Henko van Wyk, who's really a rising star as well. But it'd be interesting to see how you would actually mind the 10 as well, to see Jordan Hendricks going on that tour as well. It might be good for him as well for the future. And Sasha Mgunzulu is another guy that could probably take through on maybe one of those, the SAA team for that tour as well. It's going to be interesting to see where they do select there, but they definitely, we see the Springboks are being tested a bit in depth. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I suppose immediate results, maybe it might affect that, but I think in the longer run, to broaden your depth like that in the squad is not a bad thing at all. That being said, Lukhanyo is a loss. He's a huge loss, and he's not just a loss in the midfield. He's a loss in terms of the leadership and the experience that he brings, and just those little touches that just make a game just so different when he's in it. So I think the Boks are going to lose out big time on there, and I hope it doesn't affect him, because I think he'd probably be one of the nominees for the World Rugby Player of the Year, and if he's out now for the 3 months, I'm not sure if that affects that as well, although we never really know how those votes go, how those players get selected. Just saying that, it's going to be an interesting selection when we get to the end of the year tour, to see that broadened squad, the select side, whether they travel together or whether they do a separate tour. We haven't heard those details yet. We'll hear them probably in the next couple of weeks. And of course, that side's going to prop up, when all the overseas-based players are out of that final test against England and Twickenham. That's outside the international window. So those guys from the select, the A side, the SA Select side, who are going to play Munster and Bristol, those players are going to have to play, step into the breach, and that's why we're seeing a bit of a broadening of the squad, and we're seeing them playing these extra games. At least there'll be a couple of combinations they'll have played together, and the Boks will be able to fall back on them. Anyway, those are my thoughts. So I thought, who do you think should come in at 13? Who do you think should come in at 10? Who would you select, given the situation the Boks are in at the moment with those injuries? Let me know your thoughts. It'd be very interesting to hear. I read all the comments, and please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe as well. Catch you in the next video and next time for the next rugby video that I do. Cheers.